This video examines the history of the Assyrian genocide, focusing on the transition from the Ottoman Empire to the Turkish Republic and the role of the state in these events. We explore how civil war, the fall of a sovereign government, and key diplomatic treaties like Sèvres and Lausanne intersected with the mass killings of the Assyrian people. The story begins with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the systemic targeting of Christian minorities during a period of immense turmoil. The road to deportation was paved by the 1908 Young Turk Revolution, the stresses of World War I, and the 1915 Law of Deportation, which provided a legal framework for systemic targeting. This timeline highlights how the Committee of Union and Progress enforced a nationalist agenda, fueled by wartime paranoia, that ultimately led to the state-sanctioned violence. The Sayfo, meaning, quote, the sword, resulted in the destruction of 50 to 75% of the Assyrian population. This brutal campaign was marked by massacres, forced marches, and the burning of villages. Between 250,000 and 300,000 Assyrians were murdered. The violence, concentrated in eastern provinces, permanently altered the demographic landscape of the region. Post-war, the empire faced a chaotic transition. As the old government was dismantled and Allied forces arrived, a nationalist insurgency led by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk emerged. The resulting power struggle and nationalist fervor created a vacuum of protection, leaving Christian communities exposed to further violence and displacement during the imperial collapse. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk and the Turkish nationalist movement led the forces that would define the new political reality in the region. The 1920 Treaty of Sèvres proposed autonomy for Armenians and Kurds, which the Turkish nationalists viewed as an existential threat. They mobilized to reject the treaty, putting further targets on remaining Christian enclaves. This map illustrates the proposed partitions under Sèvres, highlighting the areas of conflict that drove the nationalist agenda to ensure a homogenized, undivided territory. Following the war, the Republic of Turkey inherited the obligations of the Ottoman Empire, but pursued policies of Turkification, leading to a policy of state denial that persists today. Scholars debate imperial versus republican responsibility. While the modern state acknowledges mass suffering, it continues to deny that these events constitute genocide. The shift from the failed Treaty of Sèvres to the Treaty of Lausanne abandoned previous promises of minority autonomy, effectively legitimizing a new demographic reality with minimal protection for survivors. The Treaty of Lausanne, signed in 1923, was negotiated by unrecognized Turkish nationalists. By leveraging battlefield victories, they were able to dictate terms to the Allied powers, effectively overturning the previous Treaty of Sèvres. A critical component of this peace agreement was the Declaration of Amnesty. This legal shield guaranteed immunity, ensuring that no Turkish official or rebel commander would be prosecuted for wartime atrocities, including the Assyrian genocide, also known as Sayfo. Lausanne redrew the map, formally recognizing the Republic of Turkey as the sole successor state. It abandoned partition plans and promises of minority autonomy that had been central to the earlier, unratified Treaty of Sèvres. While Lausanne included clauses for the protection of non-Muslim minorities, these were limited in scope and applied only to select groups in Istanbul, leaving the Assyrian population entirely unrecognized and vulnerable. The Republic of Turkey benefited from the demographic changes caused by the genocide while successfully evading international accountability, establishing a complex legacy of legal continuity. The culpability of the modern state is often argued through the successor state doctrine, which posits that new regimes inherit both the assets and the historical liabilities of their predecessors. Following the transition, personnel from the previous regime moved into high-level positions in the new republic. Subsequent policies, such as the 1934 resettlement law, institutionalized the marginalization of Christian survivors. The term educide describes the systematic manipulation of educational systems to suppress the truth of historical atrocities, ensuring that future generations remain aligned with state-sanctioned narratives. Today, scholars debate these events. Some emphasize the Republic's need for survival amidst political chaos, while others highlight the ongoing denial of the genocide as a form of state-sponsored historical amnesia. The genocide permanently altered the demographics of the region. Where once thousands of Assyrians lived in areas like Turabdin, only a tiny community remains today, struggling to preserve their heritage. Despite continued official denial from the state, international recognition of the Assyrian genocide is growing, with various nations and academic bodies formally acknowledging the atrocities of the Sayfo.